ينشر الهدي إيمانا وموعظة فبالجهالة قد خابت مساعينا. غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى أمانينا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome to another edition of the Sulaiman RAVAT Show, the final edition of this program for the Mubarak and blessed month of Ramadan. Yes, Ramadan 1436, 2015 is almost over. For so long we were talking about the coming of Ramadan, about preparations for the great month that was just around the corner, and then the month of Ramadan dawned upon us, it commenced, we embraced it and we welcomed it with a great degree of enthusiasm, with a great degree of fervor, hoping to do a lot of good. And now we are already on the 25th day of this great month. It is the last Sunday of this month, irrespective of the moon sighting. Whether the moon is sighted on Thursday or not, Eid will either be on Friday or otherwise it will be on Saturday, inshallah. Well, firstly, we make dua to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that whatever our efforts have been thus far, that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala accepts those efforts. We have hope that inshallah Allah will accept. Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala does not let go to waste the efforts of those who do good. But the thing is that are we amongst those who are muhsinin, who are good doers? We may have done good deeds, but are we good? إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala only accepts from those who have taqwa. So, like the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions, al-imanu bayna al-khawfi wal-raja, that iman is between hope and fear. Even when the same would apply when it comes to whatever good we have done. We need to be in that state between hope and fear. Hope that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will accept, but also fearful that it may not be accepted. And that's what keeps us in check. That's what enables us to always work to improve and to enhance and to ensure that we increase our levels of sincerity, and that we try and protect ourselves against insincerity or anything else that may compromise or that may jeopardize our good deeds. Remember, doing a good deed is one thing, but then preserving that good deed up to the day of Qiyamah, where we can present it to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, for Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to then give us the reward for it, is a different thing altogether. And that's why the scholars say, check your niyyah, check your intention, your sincerity before you do a good deed, whilst you're doing it, and most importantly, after you have done it. Most importantly, after you have done it. But indeed, it's a great month. I mean, the atmosphere, the experience, the mood, the ambience, it's something that cannot be matched in any other month of the year. It's an experience that you can only experience during the month of Ramadan. In many ways, it's difficult to explain. It's just simply the fact that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala puts something in this month. He creates the barakah in this month. He creates the flavor. He creates the mood that makes it conducive for ibadah, that makes our hearts soft and more receptive towards nasiha and advices. It's not found in any other months, but that's the speciality of this month. Many times people would say that, hey, if only Ramadan could last the entire year. If it did, then this one month wouldn't be so special. Hence Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said, أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ, that you are compelled to fast, you are obligated to fast, it's compulsory for you to fast. This month of Ramadan, it's primarily about fasting, but it's for a prescribed period of time, it's for a specific period of time, it's for a stipulated period of time. And also, when we know that it's for a stipulated period of time, that we show more attention and we have a greater degree of focus. If Ramadan were to be the entire year, then it would be a norm, it would be a standard, and people would not attach to it the value that we ought to attach to it. We are also in the last 10 days and 10 nights of Ramadan. Actually, we ought to say now, the last 5 days and 5 nights of this great month of Ramadan, depending on the sighting of the moon. Already 3 of the odd nights have gone. Last night was the 25th night. It is the 27th night that is now around the corner. That's tomorrow night. Then you've got one more odd night there after the 29th night. The Eid night is also a great night. If you aliven the Eid night with ibadah and worship, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will aliven your heart on the day of Qiyamah. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will keep you alive when you need to be alive the most. Let's remember that whatever may have happened up to this particular point, there is still a great opportunity that we have between now and the end of Ramadan. Whilst we know that the ulama tell us, based on the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we should seek Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, the night that is greater than 1,000 months, the night wherein if you occupy yourself with ibadah and worship, you get more than 1,000 months of reward. 1,000 months, you do the calculation, how many of us even live for that long these days? And yet in one night, you get the reward of so many years of ibadah and worship of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now the scholars tell us that you must look for Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, more so in the odd nights, and most so on the 27th night. So our approach ought to be that we don't put all our eggs in one basket. We don't only focus on the 27th night. We exert ourselves every night during the last 10 nights of Ramadan, more so on the odd nights, but most so on the 27th night, because there are many scholars. Although we can never say categorically, because the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has never said it categorically, and we have to appreciate the fact that he left it ambiguous. We know the famous story behind Laylatul Qadr, and that he told us to seek it within the odd nights of the last 10 nights of Ramadan. But there are many scholars, including Sahaba, Ubay bin Ka'b radiyallahu an, Abdullah bin Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, who are of the opinion that it is in all likelihood, Laylatul Qadr is in all likelihood on the 27th night of Ramadan. So that's the night when we make the most effort, and perhaps we need to keep this in mind from today. Rest as much as you can during the day today. Try and have a good sleep also tonight. Why not take off on Tuesday? Why not take one day off from work, so that Monday night, the entire night, Monday night will be the 27th night, tomorrow night, the entire night we can spend it in the ibadah and in the worship of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And by doing so, then we don't leave anything to chance. A great reward, great opportunity from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. We don't know. We may be alive tomorrow to witness the 27th night of Ramadan, but we may not be alive next year, come the 27th night of Ramadan, come the month of Ramadan. So let's appreciate these things. Let's appreciate these bounties which Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given us. We don't know if they will come again for us. And hence, we need to be focused. We need to be determined. I know that right now, as we move into the real last lap of this great month, the last 5 days, a lot of fatigue starts to set in. People are tired. It's winter months. It's cold. This morning, it's again cold here in the Johannesburg region. Many people suffering from the flu. I myself, last week, I could not make it. They had to play a repeat program last week because last week, Saturday, I came down with the flu. I was knocked out three days flat. On the mend, recovering slowly, alhamdulillah, but not there yet totally. Nonetheless, we understand these things. It's the winter months, people are not too well, and as you move towards the last leg, you've been fasting already for 24, 25 days. 25 Taraweeh Salahs already, a lot of recitation of Quran, dhikr, a lot of exertion, and people are starting to get tired. And sometimes you hear people utter the statement and they ask the question that why is it that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala put Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 nights? Why not the first 10 nights? Would be fresh and we have all the energy and we have all the vigor. And one of the answers given by the scholars is really remarkable, that when we're entering Ramadan, we still come in with all that baggage, all that rust and all that lethargy of the state that we were in prior to Ramadan. Allah left it in the last 10 days, so the first 20 days we can spiritually cleanse ourselves and we can spiritually uplift ourselves, so that when Laylatul Qadr comes, when this night of power comes, then we are more receptive, then the container is more clean to be able to take from the treasures of Laylatul Qadr. So yes, we may be a little sleep deprived by now, we may be a little tired by now, it may be a little bit more difficult to concentrate and focus by now, fatigue would have set in, tiredness would have set in. But it's like that marathon, right? The person who wants to win the marathon, they are tired already by the halfway mark. Their legs are numb already by the three-quarter way mark. But that's when you need to dig in deep, and that's when you need to find that determination. And that's when you need to really, force yourself. Really force yourself, because these opportunities don't come by all the time. Force yourself, dig in deep. There's a lot of time to recuperate after Ramadan. Then you can sleep it out, then you can rest, and within a few days, or at most within a few weeks, you would have found your feet once again. But then at least you would know that you did not miss out on the opportunity of Ramadan. if it was some worldly opportunity, if there was a big match on and people had to queue the entire night, if you had to catch a flight, if you had to travel long distances to get to your destination for work or for leisure or pleasure, people are willing to make those sacrifices because they understand the value of whatever is on the other side. Let us understand the value and let us appreciate the value of what is on the other side. What is on the other side, meaning once we have hit the jackpot, as some people describe it, on Laylatul Qadr, it's a tremendous achievement, tremendous achievement. May Allah wa ta'ala make us all successful in that regard. Also, we need to keep in mind, whilst we make most of our effort on the 27th night, Ramadan does not culminate with the 27th night. Many times we see that after the 27th night, it's just downhill for people. They just, they conduct themselves as if Ramadan has now come to an end, whereas there's still precious moments left in Ramadan. There is still, the 28th day, the 27th day, 28th day, 29th day, possibly even the 30th day. So 4 days, and then, the 3 nights that are there, one of them being an odd night, the 29th night. We cannot just, miss Tarawih Salah thereafter, stop our recitation of the Quran, stop our dhikr, stop everything. No. Whilst we make most of the effort on the 27th night, this is still the month of Ramadan. Every good deed that you do, from the category of nafil, you get the reward of a farad, and the farad is multiplied by 70 and beyond that, depending on how Allah wa ta'ala wants to reward us and on our levels of sincerity, etc. So that opportunity is still there. You make your most effort on the 27th night, but continue to make effort, continue to remain focused during those last few days. And Eid night is a big night. That's the time, obviously the jovial spirit, the happy spirit, the happy mood sets in when it will be announced on Thursday night if the moon is sighted, or otherwise on Friday night when now Ramadan has come to a natural conclusion after a 30-day process. Now, it's such a great opportunity. One more night. Why do we then just, say, okay, now it's all over, and we don't dedicate ourselves to ibadah, we don't dedicate ourselves to worship, we don't aliven that night of prize giving with the ibadah and the worship of Allah wa ta'ala. So yes, people, let's remain focused. Let's keep our eye on the ball. This is not the time to drop the ball. This is the time for tawbah, sincere regret, expression of sincere regret. It's the time of introspection. It's the time of dua, hoping and attempting and making an effort to get our du'as accepted by Allah wa ta'ala. It's the time to really cash in. It's the time to really cash in. May Allah wa ta'ala grant us the understanding. Now, as has been the norm on this program during the month of Ramadan, at around this time, at around 9 o'clock, I pose the question, and then we have an interactive session for about an hour or so with our viewers out there. We spoke the very first week about gratitude. The second week, we spoke about contentment. Last week, I wasn't in, as I said, due to illness. This week, I want to ask a very important question. It's very relevant to this period. What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? The lines are open from now, 011 086 7777. That's 011 086 7777. From now, you can begin calling in. And we had very good interaction in the programs thus far. Jazakumullah to all the viewers. Not only did we have callers for the duration of the hour, but we also had very constructive input. And that's what I'm looking for again this morning. I know you may be a bit more tired this Sunday morning as compared to previous Sunday mornings as we move towards the end of Ramadan. But let's have a good discussion, and all the viewers will benefit, inshallah, from that discussion. From your advices, from your experiences, what you've heard from scholars, what you've read, what you yourself have experienced over the years, because it becomes a big problem. Many times we hear people lamenting this, that the day after Ramadan, we just go back to right where we were before Ramadan, as if nothing has changed in our lives, as if we only had to be good Muslims for those 30 days. So let's talk about it. Your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan. The lines are open. We go for a break. When we come back, inshallah, we continue. The lines are open, 011 086 7777. Advice on how to remain steadfast after the blessed month of Ramadan. Many times we hear people complain, and I made reference to this before the break. We hear people say that it is as if we carry on like we've just come out of prison. Forget, after Ramadan, even on the day of Eid, the very day after Ramadan, if a man was, mashallah, growing his beard, he feels the need to chop it. If a woman, mashallah, donned the hijab or she donned the niqab for the month of Ramadan, immediately after Ramadan, it's off. If she was dressing modestly as her deen requires her to do so, immediately on the day of Eid, the inappropriate clothing, un-Islamic clothing is back in vogue. The masajid were full. The masajid were full during the month of Ramadan. Come the odd nights, come the big nights, people were there. They were focused. They were focused and they were totally determined and totally had their eye on what needed to be done. And now come after Ramadan, it's as if we feel like we were like a bird that was kept in a cage. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala protect us. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala forgive us. But that's how we carry on. That's our conduct after this blessed month of Ramadan. It is as if we've been released now. We've been unshackled now. As much as we say with our lips and with our tongues that, you know what, I missed the month of Ramadan, and oh, Ramadan went by so quickly, and oh, if only Ramadan was longer, if only I had more opportunity. But then what was the point of Ramadan? What was the point of Ramadan? Ramadan was there and it was meant to bring us closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and to keep us closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. An entire process of 3 months, Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan, a process that started in Rajab, where we started preparing, in Sha'ban, where we intensified, in Ramadan, when we maximized. Yes, we secured the reward. We secured the reward during that month of Ramadan for whatever good that we have done. But what about the benefit? What about it, Ramadan making us better Muslims? Ramadan bringing us closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Ramadan taking us higher on that level of spirituality so that we come closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and we remain closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Every Ramadan in our lives ought to bring us closer to Allah and keep us there. Now, one thing we need to understand and one thing we need to be very categorical about, it's obvious that you cannot do out of Ramadan as much as you were doing in Ramadan. So if you made 3 khatams of the Quran in Ramadan, it might not be, well, it is possible, but it's much more difficult to make 3 khatams of the Quran outside the month of Ramadan. The environment is not there, the atmosphere is not there. If you were performing 20 rakats of Salah in Taraweeh every night during Ramadan, no one is expecting you to perform 20 rakats of Nafil every night. If you were fasting every day in Ramadan, no one is expecting you to fast every day after Ramadan. So we shouldn't fall into that misconception that when we talk about steadfastness after Ramadan, it means that you have to do exactly what you were doing in Ramadan. As much salah, as much Quran, as much dhikr, as much time in the masjid, as much fasting, as much charity. No, Ramadan has that climate. It has that special climate, that special atmosphere, that special mood, that special environment, because Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala puts the blessings in it. Many times people will tell you, those who keep the 6 fasts of Shawwal, they'll tell you those 6 fasts are much more difficult than maybe 20 fasts of Ramadan. Immediately the day after Eid, when you're keeping that fast, you feel it. You feel that fast much more than you would feel the Ramadan fast, because the barakah of Ramadan is no longer there. That barakah of Ramadan is no longer there. So it's not impossible to fast. You can fast, but it's much more difficult to fast. It's not as easy. The Ramadan fast, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala puts amazing barakah. I mean, I use my own example. When I do the program, I need to hydrate all the time. I need to have water. And my technician Yusuf will tell you that one of the first things I tell him when I get here to the studio out of the month of Ramadan is, Yusuf, where's the water? And he brings water, and there's a water that sits here on a small table beneath this table, which you cannot see. And in the ad breaks, I'm consuming water. If I don't, I don't feel right. My throat feels parched. It feels dry, and I can't speak properly. But during the month of Ramadan, obviously, I cannot consume water due to fasting. But Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala makes it easy. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala makes it easy. You don't feel the need for that water. You don't feel all that thirsty. You don't feel that, all that dry. The same would go for food. Outside of Ramadan, by 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm just using my own example, and everyone will have their own examples. I start very early in the morning. I have a breakfast show on Radio Islam. So 6 to 9, I have breakfast as a result very early in the morning. And by 10, 11 o'clock, if I don't have something to eat, I can't function. I feel weak, I feel distracted, I start becoming, very frustrated and moody. But But alhamdulillah, during the month of Ramadan, we don't have that problem. I'm having sari very early in the morning, earlier than what I would have breakfast during outside of Ramadan. This year, on Radio Islam, I do the Sahri program during the month of Ramadan between 3:30 and 5:30. So I'm already starting to eat around 4:30, 5 o'clock, during the breaks on that particular program. But during the day, you don't feel that need. You don't feel that, intense hunger, that frustration doesn't really set in. Why? I'm not saying you won't find any of it. I'm just saying not to the extent that you would find it out of the month of Ramadan. It is because of the barakah. It is because of the blessings that Allah Ta'ala puts in this great month of Ramadan, and Allah makes it easy for us. So, coming back to the point, when we say that we need to remain steadfast after the month of Ramadan, and not for a moment are we suggesting that you have to do exactly what you used to do in the month of Ramadan. That is very difficult. It's very difficult. There are very few who would be able to do that. And those who are able to, be on such a high level after Ramadan, then in Ramadan they are on even a higher level because of their great spirituality and their great piety and their great levels of taqwa. Steadfastness means you don't leave it all together. You don't leave it all together. So if you were reading Quran in the month of Ramadan, you may have been reading a juz or 2 juz a day. Read half a juz a day outside of Ramadan. Read a few pages. But as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, the best of actions are those in which there is constancy, in which you are regular. That's the meaning of steadfastness. Even if it's a little, wa in qalla, even if it's a little, but be steadfast, be regular, be perpetual with it, be consistent with it. If you were fasting 30 days in Ramadan, we don't say you have to fast every day. Fast the 6th fast of Shawwal, because remember, when you fast Ramadan, every fast you get the reward of minimum 10, because that's the principle of the Quran. Man ja'a bil hasanati falahu ashru amthaliha. When you fast, when you do a good deed, Allah gives you the reward minimum multiplied by 10, and beyond that, as much as Allah Ta'ala decides and chooses. So 30 fasts equates to 300 fasts. So the 6th fast after Ramadan in Shawwal would equate to another 60, and then it is as if you have fasted the entire year, 360 days. So fast the 6th fast of Shawwal at least, then fast the Ashura fast, and if possible try and fast 3 days a month, the Ayyam-e-Bidh, the 13th, 14th and 15th of every lunar month. Once you've come to that particular level, you want to go one higher, then you try and fast on Mondays and Thursdays, which is also a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One beyond that also, for those who are on that level, the Sawm Dawood, you fast one day, you don't fast the next, you fast one day, you don't fast the next. But let there be some fasting in our routine. Daily recitation of Quran, at least monthly fasting, 3 days a month. Then dhikr daily. We may not be able to make as much dhikr as we do during the month of Ramadan, but daily in the morning, in the evening, a few basic adhkar, the istighfar, the durood, the 3rd kalima, the 1st kalima, etc. Once a week, let's try and attend a dhikr program. Let's try and present ourselves in a dhikr program. The same would go for charity. We may have given our zakah in Ramadan. We may have given big amounts, but let's try and give charity every day or every week or at least every month. Even if it's a rand, 5 rands, 10 rands, but let charity be something which is constant in our lives. All the time we must be giving in the path of Allah Ta'ala out of the month of Ramadan as well. And most importantly, salah. Now, salah, you can't go below the 5 daily salah. If in Ramadan you are performing the Sunnah Taraweeh and you are performing the Nafil Tahajjud and the Nafil Awwabin and the Nafil Ishraq and Chast and whatever else, Salatul Duha, that's fine. If outside of Ramadan you cannot keep to all of that, then at least make sure your 5 times salah with the jama'ah in the masjid is something that you remain constant on, because that is not negotiable. That's compulsory. Beyond that, then whenever we can, let's try and wake up for tahajjud. In the winter months, it's not all that difficult, because the time of tahajjud will only be expiring after 5 a.m. in the Gauteng, Transvaal region, as we go out of Ramadan, Cape Town even later. Awwabin, it's not all that difficult. The minimum you do to be eligible for your rakats to be considered to have been part of Awwabin is that after the Maghrib Salah, we normally read the 2 sunnat. And together with the 2 sunnat, just read another 4 rakats. So that 4 rakats with the 2 sunnats total 6, which is the minimum for Awwabin. And if you read, 4 short rakats, it'll mean you sit in the masjid another extra 5 minutes after Maghrib Salah, but you get the reward of Awwabin. Like this, we have to take the decision now. We need to make dua to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala now, that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala makes it easy for us to remain steadfast after the blessed month of Ramadan. Okay, I've been informed by my technicians that the reason that the calls are not coming through right now is that there's some sort of an issue on our side, which would be resolved in the next few minutes, inshallah. So do not call right now. But think about the question. So when we open up the lines, then the calls can flow, mashallah, and you can call in immediately. What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? Within the next 10 minutes or so, inshallah, we will be able to open the lines and we will be able to take your calls. We go for a break. When we come back, we continue the discussion. Okay, welcome back. We continue the discussion about these last few days of Ramadan, and as I said, inshallah, in about 10 minutes or so, a maximum 15 minutes or so, we would be able to take your calls. I'm sure you are disappointed, and I'm disappointed too, that we couldn't take calls from the beginning of the hour, but whatever the issue here is on our side, it's not on your side, don't worry. It will be resolved very quickly. But think about the question. Think about the question. So when the lines are open, we can have a smooth discussion and we can take those calls back to back, inshallah. What is your advice? What is your advice to all the viewers of our ITV on how to remain steadfast after the blessed month of Ramadan? Your advice on how to remain steadfast after the blessed month of Ramadan. One of the ways is to ask Allah to make it easy for us. You know, we don't understand that dua is not only when we want sustenance, when we want our difficulties and hardships to be removed. So in these days of dua, people are sitting there and making dua and they're saying, okay, oh Allah, grant me sustenance. Oh Allah, grant me a better job. Oh Allah, those who are not married, I want a wife, a good husband. Those who don't have children, I want children. All of those things are important things. We should make dua for those things. There's no doubt about that. But what about making dua for our spiritual matters as well? For those things which are of spiritual importance to us. How many of us make the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam? Rabbi ja'alni muqim as-salati wa min dhurriyyati rabbana wa taqabbal dua. That, oh Allah, make me and those from my progeny amongst those who are steadfast on salah, who establish salah, who don't just only perform salah for the sake of it, who don't just go through the motions of salah. No. Those who establish salah, they're in the salah with their heart and mind, they're fully focused, the concentration is there, the heart is there, the mind is there, the soul is there, everything is in the salah. There's khushu and khudu in salah. How many of us make the dua, especially during these great days? We know our weakness when it comes to salah. Many are not punctual with salah. Many are not punctual with salah, with jama'ah. Those who are punctual, there isn't that level of focus and concentration that they're supposed to be. Why is it that we can't invest in our own salah, in our own salah by making this dua? How many of us during these last few days and nights, these great nights when dua is so readily accepted by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, how many of us make dua to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to make the Quran part of our regular routine, part of our daily schedule? We must obviously take the intention. It's not dua only on its own. You make the dua, you take the decision, and then after that you make the effort, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will bless you. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will assist you. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will make it easy for you. How many of us make dua to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that, oh Allah, make me from amongst those who remember you. Make me from amongst those, as the Quran describes, الذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات. الذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات. Those male and females who remember Allah excessively. Those male and females who remember Allah excessively. Imagine that. Really, imagine that. Imagine that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala grants us that. So, do not forget to make dua for your spiritual upliftment, for your spiritual improvement. Yes, we may make that kind of a dua in a very broad sense, and that's fine. But like we go into specifics when it comes to our worldly needs. Oh Allah, I want a house. Oh Allah, I need a car. Oh Allah, I need a child. Oh Allah, I need a spouse. Oh Allah, I need a job. Oh Allah, I need a better job. Oh Allah, I need a better house. Oh Allah, I need a better income. Nothing wrong. Ask of Allah everything and anything. Even if it's a shoelace that you require. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has taught us, even if you require a shoelace, ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for that shoelace. There's no problem in that. What I'm saying is, why is it that we remember all of that, but we forget to make dua for the spiritual aspects of our existence? And the reason for that is because it's not in our minds. It's not even there. The realization is not even dawned upon us that these things are important, that after Ramadan, I need to remain steadfast on my salah. I need to remain steadfast in my recitation of the Quran. I need to, still have fasting in some way or the other part of my life, whether it's 3 days a month or whether it's some of the key fasts like the 6 Shawwal fast and the fast of Ashura, etc. But I need to ensure that fasting is in some way or the other part of my life. We don't do these things. We don't do these things, and as a result, we make it difficult for ourselves to remain steadfast as Muslims. And then a few weeks passes after Ramadan. The biggest mistake you can make is to think that, let me just take a bit of a breather after Ramadan, and then I'll get back into routine. Never do that. Never do that. Again, we're not saying that if on Eid is on Saturday, that from Sunday you must be back to the routine that you were involved in during the month of Ramadan. No, I'm not saying that for a moment. What I'm saying is, I've already explained that you won't be able to do to the level that you were doing in Ramadan. But that istiqamat, that steadfastness needs to start on the day of Eid. On the day of Eid, make sure you are punctual with your salah. On the day of Eid, make sure you recite Quran. On the day of Eid, make sure you take out some charity. Make sure you make some dhikr. And continue with it the day after Eid, the day after Eid. And I can guarantee you, if you keep to that routine that first week after Ramadan, you've won half the battle. Then after that, it'll become part of your life, inshallah. But if you take a breather, forget it. Before you realize it, 1 month would have passed after Ramadan, and your state will be exactly what it was prior to Ramadan. You would have gone back to exactly where you were before Ramadan. Another key point here is with regards vice. It's with regards evils and sin. Many of us, we know the different vices, the different evils, the different sins that we are involved in. And out of appreciation for the great month of Ramadan, out of respect for the sanctity of the great month of Ramadan, we abstain from those vices, we abstain from those evils, we abstain from those sins. Now, after Ramadan, we think, okay, 30 days I didn't do this, 30 days I didn't contact her, 30 days, I wasn't involved in whatever it is, our guilty pleasures. We think, okay, just a little bit after Ramadan, and after that, I'll give it up again. No, once you go there the first time, it's going to become a regular, it's going to become a constant, it's going to become a norm in your life. So we need to build up some courage, we need to build up some willpower. It's nothing beyond our capacity, it's nothing beyond our ability. We need to build up the power, we need to build up that capacity, we need to build up that courage, and then we'll see. We just show a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of initiative from our side, a little bit of effort from our side, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will make it easy for us. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will make it easy for us. Okay, I get an indication that the problems are resolved on our side. So now you can call in. The number 011 086 7777. That's 011 086 7777. The question: what is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? I'm putting a challenge out there to our viewers in Cape Town. Normally, our viewers in Cape Town are always the first out of the blocks, and many of our callers, most of our callers in the call-in programs come in from Cape Town. But in the last few Sundays, we've had the odd caller from Cape Town. It's been more from other regions. I think it was more from Joburg in the last 2 weeks, if I remember correctly. So therefore, let's see Cape Town this morning. I know you get going much later than we do. I mean, your Sehri time ends about an hour after our Sehri time ends. But this morning, this last Sunday during this month of Ramadan, we want you to share your advice on how to remain steadfast after the month of Ramadan. The lines are now open. You may begin calling, and we look forward to an interactive discussion with the viewers of ITV, inshallah. 011 086 7777. Do not call on the pledge line number. No. The pledge line number is only for when pledge lines take place. That's 7700. Call in on the studio number, which is 011 086 7777. When we come back from the break, we will continue with your calls. Welcome back. We can now take your calls, 011 086 7777. Advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan. As soon as I get an indication that we have our first caller ready, we will go to the lines, inshallah. What is your advice? How do we remain steadfast after this blessed month of Ramadan? In the past, what have you tried? What has worked for you? What have you heard from other scholars that you found to be very relevant, very pertinent, and very worthwhile, and that it made a difference for you? Let's have the discussion. Let's share the advice with the other viewers of ITV, because it's imperative. It's imperative. It's integral. We cannot be like Ali radiallahu anhu had said, those who only worship Allah during the month of Ramadan. as if we worship Ramadan and not Allah. Because Ramadan will come and go. Ramadan will come and go. But Allah was there before Ramadan and Allah will be there after Ramadan. So we need to continue to worship Allah. Ramadan is there to give us that boost, as we had discussed prior to this great month. It's there to give us that spiritual injection. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in His mercy gives us this opportunity 30 days a year where we can go for a spiritual major service, when we can go for a spiritual cleanup, and when we come out revitalized. But what's the point if you service your car, and after you service your car, you can now park it off now for 11 months until the next service is due? The thing is, once the car is functioning better now, that's the time that you need to take benefit from it. So once we have now improved ourselves spiritually, that's the time now that we need to take that spirituality to the next level by ensuring there's a greater degree of obedience that comes into our lives, and a greater degree of compliance, a greater degree of ibadah and worship. Okay, we go to our first caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Where are you calling from, brother?
I'm calling from Joburg.
Gee, talk to me. Go ahead, brother. You're live on air. Go ahead.
Okay, it's Imran calling from Joburg.
Yes.
I'd like to respond to the question you put out.
Yes.
Firstly, mashallah for the nice show you got on a Sunday morning.
Jazakumullah. Go ahead, brother. I'm listening.
Firstly, what I do is usually Hello?
Yes, brother. You're live on air. I'm listening to you.
Okay, Jazakallah, yeah, maaf. Usually after Ramadan, I take something out of Ramadan, one ibadah. So in other words, maybe a salah, maybe fasting,
Right.
And it just depends what you like to take out. Take out one action that you do. And like in Ramadan, we're doing fasting, we're doing ibadah, we're doing zikr. So we take out one from there. So like last year, you take out your, for example, if I wasn't constant on my salah, I take out, I say, okay, from now onwards after this Ramadan, I'm taking out my salah every day, 5 times a day. I was not punctual with it. Then if I want, the next thing maybe is zikr. The next thing is the Quran. So we take one action. My main point is one action every time after Ramadan, every Ramadan, and then slowly. Because if we want to say we want to do all, we won't be able to do all. In Ramadan, we're doing all. So like after this Ramadan, maybe concentration in salah. Small things that helps you to move forward and keep the spirit of Ramadan going.
Good suggestion, brother. Jazakumullah for the call.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, the lines are still open, 011 086 7777. Our question, what is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? Very practical advice given there by the brother. After every Ramadan, he takes stock of himself and he looks for one weak area, whether it's his salah or whether it's his charity or his dhikr, and he says, right, for the next 11 months, I'm going to focus on this area. That's a good way of doing it. Let's go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam, Maulana. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. And you're calling from?
I'm Yusuf from Port Shepstone.
I thought as much, but I just didn't want to say in case I was wrong. How are you, Yusuf bhai?
Ya Alhamdulillah, and Ramzan Kareem to you, Maulana.
Jazakumullah, Yusuf bhai.
And Maulana, we are a ummah of underachievers, Maulana. The efforts and sacrifice by Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Sahaba Ikram makes our own task well below par, Maulana. You see, our efforts can be gauged by the shaking of our efforts a full bottle of soda water. After shaking it vigorously, the bubbles subsides. Therein, Maulana, as an example in our own condition, in the blessed month of Ramadan, we strive beyond our own capabilities, Maulana, to please Allah in order to be granted His qurb and His marifat. You see, this exhaustion, because it is done each year in Ramadan, causes a domino effect, Maulana. And it takes a long recovery period to gain the life we lead before that. My point is, Maulana, really, that Allah Jalla Jalaluhu is not in need of our ibadat, but it is the other way around. To gain Allah's fazl and karam, Maulana, we have to maintain a level of supplication and tilawat in constancy during and after Ramadan. The last ayat, Maulana, of Surah Al-Imran, that's Surah 3 and verse 200, where Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu isbiru wa sabiru wa rabitu wattaqullaha la'allakum tuflihun, clearly exhorts the ummah to challenge each other with the patience and constancy, Maulana. In the ibadat of ibadah, in this surah, Allah guarantees us fatah, success. The problem here is that we live in a pipe dream of fantasy, Maulana. And that is enough to satisfy our entry that the kalima we read is into bliss. Unfortunately, that is not steadfastness. As we are sent us to in this world to strive, Maulana, as mujahida. And to get what we want is that for the next 11 months, Maulana, we've got to make that ibadah of Allah not in quantity, but in that little bit of way where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy with the khushu and khuzu in which we go about our work, my Lord. Yes. Because first we must understand we are Muslims, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge us according to our records on how we do, how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us as the finest man that ever traversed this earth, my dear. And until that time does not come into our life, Maulana, then unfortunately we are the chief architects of our own destruction. Maulana, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq, Maulana.
Ameen, ameen, ameen. Yusufbhai, you make dua for us in these last few days and nights of this great month of Ramadan, and we look forward to interacting with you on a regular basis after Ramadan on the program as well, inshallah.
Inshallah, Maulana, and may Allah give you tawfiq and good health, Maulana.
Ameen, ameen, ameen.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, the lines are open, 011-086-7777. Our question this morning, what is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? Yusufbhai touching there on a few key points. The one point there that I would like to elaborate on, he says that it's about quality after Ramadan. In Ramadan, it's about quantity and quality because you have, 30 days and you can focus yourself, right? I mean, it's 30 days, I'm going to give it my all, I'm going to really push myself. You cannot push yourself, it's not sustainable. You cannot push yourself like the way you push yourself in Ramadan throughout the year. We don't have that kind of spiritual capacity, and Allah doesn't really want that from us. Allah wants us to be now steadfast after Ramadan. You have to be on at least one higher level after Ramadan as compared to where you were before Ramadan. And focus on the quality. That's what you are doing already. If you are a person who is already performing salah and making dhikr every day and giving some charity and keeping the occasional fast, then the quality, improving the quality of our ibadah and our worship. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Where are you calling from, my brother?
I'm calling from Port Elizabeth.
Port Elizabeth. Is it windy in Port Elizabeth this morning?
Not really. It's quite nice outside.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Tell me, what is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan?
I think if we adopt the attitude that today or tomorrow can be our last day, then inshallah ta'ala we can improve ourselves. And with the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will make everything easy for us.
Is that your personal approach, brother? Do you live every day as if it is your last day? Do you try to do so at least?
Unfortunately not, but inshallah after this Ramadan, I will exhort myself in that, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen. May Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala make it easy for you and for all of us.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, the lines are open. Let's keep those calls coming in. 011-086-7777. That's 011-086-7777. Your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan. Your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan. Yeah, a good piece of advice coming from the brother there. He acknowledges that, look, he's not there at that point right now. That's fine. But at least it's an acknowledgement that, okay, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but I'm going to work towards getting there. And this is a thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself has advised us in the ahadith, that live every day as if it is your last day. Live every day as if it is your last day. Sometimes people ask the question that if the doctor told you you only had 24 more hours to live, how would you live those last 24 hours of your life? And a great man, a good Muslim, a true Muslim, a genuine Muslim will tell you, well, I won't live it any differently to any other day. Because a Muslim ought to be living his or her life every day as if it is potentially the last day. We don't know when death could be lurking around the corner. Performing every salah as if it is the last salah. And that's one way of remaining steadfast, no doubt. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Where are you calling from, sister?
Johannesburg.
Gee, what's your contribution?
I want to speak about the role of the masjid and the role of the imam in inspiring the people after Ramadan.
Go for it.
Jazakallah.
I'm listening, sister. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for giving me this opportunity to speak. I would like to speak on the role of the masjid in inspiring the women to continue coming to the masjid. Firstly, there are very few masjids that actually accommodate us. And this is creating a problem in the few masjids because it's becoming overcrowded. Secondly, the role of the imams in the type of topics that they discuss in the Jummah khutbahs should encourage the women to come regularly to the masjid.
Okay, sister. Anything else that you... Sorry?
Sorry?
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that would be all. Jazakallah.
Jazakumullah. Jazakumullah. Sister from Johannesburg, they're talking about women and how they need to be accommodated in terms of remaining inspired so that they can also be steadfast after the month of Ramadan. Some women would argue that they don't feel the need to be able to go to the masjid to feel inspired. They feel inspired within their homes, and that's fine. But there's also a discussion that we need to have, that how do you, within the confines of your home also, create an environment of inspiration so that you remain steadfast. And those who choose to go to those masajid where there is accommodation for ladies, the sister is saying there that the speaker should keep in mind the ladies as well and what their spiritual requirements are in terms of the Jummah topics that they choose and how they address this particular issue. Okay, we are talking about steadfastness outside, after the month of Ramadan. What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? Our next caller, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Where are you calling from, brother?
Auckland Park.
Auckland Park. Okay, talk to me.
Yeah, I phoned you last. Okay, you got it?
Yeah, I got it. I'm listening to you.
All right. The two things that I want you to, after Ramadan, the two P's, you know the two P's we got?
Yeah.
Progressiveness and promiscuity.
Okay.
We must understand the two P's and improve our life according to Islam, not the promiscuous side. Because we look at everything from the West and we think it's progressive, but it's promiscuous. There's an article I read in the Muslim News in 1969 about the two P's. And it tells you about the progressive side, which Islam must be, and the promiscuous side. Let us choose between what is progressive and what is promiscuous.
Okay.
And inshallah, if we understand it and we follow the Quran and people like you that talk so well, and our alima, Jameel ulama, will go far.
Oh, Jazakumullah. Jazakumullah for the contribution, brother. Much appreciated.
Right, thanks a lot. Right,
Assalamu wa rahmatullah. Let's remain progressive, says the brother from Auckland Park. Let's remain focused. Yeah. You know, when we talk about progress, many times we only talk about progress in the material sense, and that's unfortunate. Yes, Islam doesn't say you mustn't progress in terms of this world. Islam says you progress on every front, but most importantly, you must progress on the spiritual front. Most importantly, you must progress as a human, becoming a better human all the time, becoming a better Muslim all the time. And promiscuity, obviously, is retrogression. Promiscuity, in every sense of the word, takes you back. The lines are open, 011 086 7777. What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan? It's so key. It's so key. We cannot be those Muslims who only worship Allah during the month of Ramadan, who only know Allah, who only realize who Allah is, whose hearts soften towards obedience of Allah wa ta'ala, and then we just wipe it off ourselves after the month of Ramadan by going back to exactly where we were. You know, life is a constant journey of improvement, a constant journey of progress. And every Ramadan needs to become a big stepping stone towards becoming better Muslims. Again, I'm saying, perhaps on the benefit of those who have tuned in a little later, when we talk about steadfastness after Ramadan, we're not saying you must do exactly what you did in Ramadan every day, every month outside Ramadan. That is not, sustainable for many of us, because Ramadan has its own climate, it has its own atmosphere, it has its own environment, which is so conducive and makes it so much easier for us to do a lot of things in great quantity. But we're talking about steadfastness. We're talking about constancy. We're talking about being better Muslims after Ramadan than we were before Ramadan. We need to, you see, think of it like a ladder, like a step ladder. Every Ramadan must be taking you at least one rung up, if not two or three, coming closer and closer and closer to Allah wa ta'ala. And we cannot in Ramadan take 2 or 3 steps up, and after Ramadan take 2 or 3 steps down, and we're exactly where we were before Ramadan. That is where we miss the benefit and the purpose of the month of Ramadan. The reward of the month of Ramadan, inshallah, we will get for the good deeds that we have done, for the fast that we have kept, for the tarawih that we had performed, for the recitation that we had managed to do during this month of Ramadan. The lines are open, 011 086 7777, 011 086 7777. What's happening to Cape Town this morning? Nobody from Cape Town. Die mense van Kaapstad, hulle slaap nog. Also in KZN, apart from Yusuf Bhai from Port Shepstone, who mashallah is always up bright and early talking to us and sharing his pearls of wisdom. Where are the other people? Durban Central, Stanger, Pietermaritzburg, you know, further up, Newcastle, Escort, Ladysmith. Is it an all Joburg affair? ITV is not a Joburg station, it's a national station, mashallah. So let's get those calls in from the different parts of the country. 011 086 7777. The question is, what is your advice? What is your advice on how to remain steadfast after this month of Ramadan? Remember, when you share your advice, others are listening, others are benefiting. Hopefully they will implement. You get a share of the reward as well. We go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, that caller has dropped. Let's just wait. I see the technician picking up the phone again. Takes a while, you know, from them to transfer the call. So if you are calling in, just be a bit patient. It may ring for a while. They may be busy with another call, but your chance will come, inshallah. Okay, caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam, Maulana.
Gee, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the East Rand.
The East Rand, mashallah. Talk to me. What's your contribution?
Maulana, the essence of what we should be doing post-Ramadan is, yes, obviously, namaz, recitation of the Quran, zikr, those are incumbent. But one of the most cancerous issues we are facing in society is our pride, our arrogance, our preponderance towards backbiting. These are the major sins which we are committing on a daily basis, and we're not conscious of it. We backbite about people left, right, and center, and we don't care about it at all. And we think, we're just talking, we're just having fun, we got together as family and friends. But backbiting is rife in our community. If we can tackle the scourge of backbiting, which is regarded as worse than committing adultery, then I think we won a major battle in our quest to attain spirituality. These are the major factors and major causes of sins in our community. And also this attitude of pride and arrogance and envy and jealousy. These are the 4 or 5 major sins which we have to tackle head on. And if we can control these negative traits within our midst, then I think we've won the battle. And yes, obviously, there's no compromise on your salah and zikr and Darood Sharif and obviously, recitation of the Quran. That's got to be there all the time. But these are the major issues which we commit and we think it's not a major sin. Maulana, I'd like you to, in fact, elaborate on it. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, brother, I think you've touched on a very important point. You know, when you go to a doctor for treatment, he treats you in 2 ways, and the 2 things apply simultaneously. There are things you do, and there are things you need to abstain from. And only if you play your part in terms of both aspects would you be able to be healthy physically. So if you've got diabetes, for example, the doctor will say, you need to take your insulin, but at the same time, you need to abstain from sugar. You need to abstain from eating the sweet stuff. You cannot be pumping in the insulin, but at the same time, you're eating all the cakes and you're eating all the chocolates, because really you're not going to be going anywhere in terms of your treatment. Similarly, when we talk about steadfastness and spirituality, the brother is so right. There are things that we need to do, like perform salah and read Quran and make dhikr. But then there are things that we need to abstain from. All of these sins, especially the sins of the internal, jealousy, pride, arrogance, backbiting, because these are the things that contaminate our good deeds. These are the things that compromise and jeopardize our spirituality. These are the things that take us away from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And one of the great lessons of Ramadan is that you abstain from that which is normally permissible, like food and drink and your lawful spouse. That is to train you to abstain from those things which are perpetually impermissible, like lying and gossiping and backbiting. I think the brother touches on a very important point, that as part of being steadfast after the month of Ramadan, it's not only about doing certain things, it's also about abstaining from the key sins and the major sins, and all sin as we progress higher up the spiritual ladder. The lines are open, 011 086 7777, 011 086 7777. Our question is your advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan. I'm still waiting for Cape Town. People in Cape Town, I wonder, is Ramadan not the time that you like to chat too much or interact too much? Because I know outside of Ramadan, when we open the lines, the people from Cape Town are quite, mashallah, vocal, and they're ready to articulate their viewpoints. Or maybe as I said earlier on, and as I said in previous weeks, it's just that during the month of Ramadan, everything is happening a bit later for them. You know, their sehri is later, and their iftar is later, and their tarawih is later. Even the moon sighting, you know, when you wait for the moon sighting, then you will hear they say, okay, there's no sighting in Gauteng, there's been no sighting in Natal, there's been no sighting in Mpumalanga, in Northwest, but we're waiting for Cape Town. We're waiting for Cape Town because when Cape Town, when the sun sets properly there and they've had an opportunity to look out, then we'll know for sure whether we can declare that the moon has not been sighted or the moon has been sighted and that kind of thing. So what are your thoughts? We have a few minutes left before we conclude this morning's program. The final program for this great month of Ramadan. Really, once again, just reminding myself and reminding all the viewers out there, we have 4 or 5 days left now. We have got the 27th night tomorrow night. We've got one more odd night after that, the 29th night. We've got the Eid night. These are just the few opportunities that are left. Yes, fatigue is set in. Yes, people are tired. Yes, you've been moving at a very high pace, and you've been taking on a big load in terms of our different actions of ibadah sector during this month of Ramadan. But the reason Allah brings Laylatul Qadr and brings these auspicious nights and these great moments towards the end of Ramadan is because Allah wants us to develop spiritually. So physically we may be a bit weaker now than we were in the initial few days of Ramadan, but spiritually we ought to be stronger by now because we have fasted 24 fast and we have performed so many Tarawih Salahs. So let's give it our all. Let's really give it our all. We can recuperate physically after the month of Ramadan. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Where are you calling from, sister?
The name is Mumtaz. I'm calling from Constantia Grove, West Rand.
Yes. What's your contribution, sister?
I just wanted to say, I share the same sentiments of the sister who called in earlier regarding accommodation for females at the masjids. Yeah, I share the same sentiments. We should make more accommodation. But what I want to say is that, our men, I just want to appeal to our men. They must go more often to the masjid. It is so tranquil, it's a wonderful feeling sitting there and asking Allah. I'm not saying Allah doesn't listen at our homes, but going to the masjid is more rewarding, I suppose. And our men must go more often.
No, I think it's a key point that you touch on. Jazakumullah for the contribution, sister.
Okay.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, when you have the opportunity to go to the masjid, go to the masjid. Draw from the treasures of Allah. You see, the body has a home. That's your physical home. And the soul, the home of the soul is the masjid. And the soul needs to frequent the home on a repeated basis to be able to get that nourishment from the home. Let's go to the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam, Maulana. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Where are you calling from, my brother?
I'm calling from Alexandra, Johannesburg.
Alexander, talk to me.
Maulana, my issue is women in the masjid. We've calling from a location whereby there are mainly non-Muslim. It's few of us who are Muslims.
Right.
And then our women of Muslim that become Muslim, there is sort of no place where they can go to sort of get more knowledge from. And it's only mainly men, so they have to sort of depend from brothers from the knowledge. And the sisters, as I say, there's no there is no more sisters in the location who are Muslims who can sort of spread the dawah to our sisters. So it's sort of a challenge on that perspective as a Muslim ummah, because we new in this Islam, and we need also our sisters to become Muslims. Our brothers we sort of sorted because it's mainly men, but our sisters we sort of short, we stuck. So I would like your comment as well there.
Yeah, what I would suggest, brother, it's a key point that you bring up, infrastructure and the programs to be able to reach out to our Muslim sisters as well. I'm not obviously very familiar with the territory that you live in, but what I would encourage that you do is that the local institutions there, the local scholars there, the leadership there, reach out to them and then communicate this concern to them, speak to them, and inshallah, hopefully they will be able to assist in this regard. But Jazakumullah for the call and Jazakumullah for the contribution. Okay, I think we've got another call on the line. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Gee, brother, where are you calling from? Yes, I'm listening to you.
I'm calling from Cape Town.
Ah, mashallah, finally.
I just want to make a contribution for myself. I take to heart the advice given by Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Mu'adh. He said, "Can I give you some good advice, young man? Not in the same way, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You recite after your farad salah, Allahumma inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik." And it comes with a double guarantee, because Allah says, "Ud'uni astajib lakum." You ask me and I will accept and I'll grant you your dua. So if Allah and when Allah accepts your dua, then you will forever be trying, and Allah must make it easy for you to say shukr and to remember Allah in your daily activities, which is a means of getting closer to your Lord. And there are so many spin-offs that comes from there, because then you are focused in, first of all, you being grateful. وَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Allah increases your bounty for your gratitude. It improves your lifestyle and those around you. I'm not a learned person, but I think you can elaborate on that.
No, Jazakumullah for the contribution. Very vital contribution, brother. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yes, it's the so-called smaller things, like that, what the brother has just shared with us, the advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to the great Sahabi Mu'adh bin Jabal radiyallahu an, Allahumma, to recite after every salah, after every farad salah, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. That Allah assist me, enable me to make your dhikr, assist me to be grateful to you, and assist me to not only worship you, but to worship you in the best of ways. And a constant dua like that, with the hope that Allah Ta'ala will accept the dua, and also coupled with effort from our side, will ensure that we are constant then in the remembrance of Allah, in showing gratitude to Allah, and in not only worshipping Allah, but wanting to worship Allah in the best way. And I think husni ibadatik is what we're talking about, remaining steadfast after the month of Ramadan. It's all about worshipping Allah in the best way that we can. We have about 3 or 4 minutes left. Perhaps we can squeeze in one more caller if the callers do call in. 011 086 7777. That's 011 086 7777. Advice on how to remain steadfast after Ramadan. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the viewers of ITV for contributing towards the programs during this month of Ramadan. I wish you and all of your family members and all of your near and dear ones a wonderful Eid, because next week Sunday it will be the day after Eid, or it will be 2 days after Eid. So the next time I speak to you, we will be well into the month of Shawwal. I'll be taking a bit of a break, a bit of a breather after the month of Ramadan. So I might be back with you in the second week of Shawwal, inshallah, back on the normal Friday night slots at 8:30 to 9:30. It's just during the month of Ramadan that we move to a Sunday morning, because obviously Friday evenings we've got the live transmission of the Tarawih Salah from the Haramain. Let's go to our last caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, Maulana.
Where are you calling from, brother?
I'm calling from Johannesburg.
Yes, talk to me.
Maulana, firstly I must say, Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with eloquence. This is not just saying to flatter you, but I'm very impressed with the way you handled the show. Even before the callers on the phone started to work, you very eloquently expressed, what you needed to say about the program, and I think you're going to continue it right to the very end,
No, Jazakumullah. Make dua Allah accepts.
Say again?
I say make dua Allah accepts.
Inshallah, I mean. What also caught my attention, Maulana, is the fact that when you mentioned something like we must be better next Ramadan than we were this Ramadan, I so much agree with that because I myself make the same dua. I even make it from one day to the other as well, that we be better Muslims today than we were yesterday, and inshallah we be better Muslims tomorrow than we are today.
Ameen.
And that also with regard to our fast as well. We fast better, inshallah, tomorrow than we are fast today, and then, inshallah, today better than yesterday, It's all about self-improvement, I think as human beings, as Muslims, we always want to be better. The point I really like to make, basically, to improve, is to do with coming back to the basics. Sometimes what happens, in my opinion, is that when we look at the big picture, we go into big things, but it is the small things, the basics, that actually drives us, that makes us do things correctly and to the best way that we can. Now, I just want to draw an analogy, if you don't mind, with sport, for example.
Yes.
The best sportsman in the world, in virtually every sport, is got his fundamentals right in terms of the basics.
Yeah.
Like in certain sports, for example, and the reason why I'm drawing this analogy, because alhamdulillah, we have so much of basics in Islam, and sometimes we skip over that, So what I want to say basically is that, for example, if you play a sport like golf or tennis for that matter, if you've got the grip right, you're able to stroke the ball properly. Now, in Islam, we have the basics, the fundamentals so strong, so entrenched, but sometimes we may just skip over it and just overlook it, like even in sport. Like the best sportsmen in the world will tell you that when things go wrong, they go back to the basics.
Yeah.
So if you look at Islam, and if you look at the way even our salah, repetition, and even the Western scholars are saying today, in order to achieve success, we must repeat. Constantly repeat what you're doing good. And also, that leads to consistency. So Salah, in fact, Ramadan is a training ground for that, where we can carry forward all those basics we did in various aspects of our ibadat in the month of Ramadan. We can carry that forward out of Ramadan. And also, I think that and as you so eloquently said, we cannot do everything we did in Ramadan. It's a special effort month. But whatever that we have acquired that could enhance our taqwa, our consciousness of Allah, and our improvement, we can take it out of Ramadan, and inshallah it will improve us to the next Ramadan, and inshallah from that Ramadan to the next Ramadan, we can also improve there as well. But if we take the basics, I just want to comment like just a simple thing, like the kalima, which we sort of sometimes don't focus too much on. But I think it's so deep. If one had to go even to the kalima, you would see it's actually an acceptance, it's a negation first of everything else that we concentrate on in worship, and then an acceptance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's the basics. It's the basics, but you can see it is so fundamental. It gives us direction.
Yeah,
and even in our salah, the way we read salah as well, it's the same thing. It is giving you direction, refocusing, repeating. Simple, like the Surah Fatiha is so simple, but yet so effective because it's the repetition. It leads to consistency. So if a sportsman can get reach a very high level of success in his sport, imagine, inshallah, we apply the basics correctly, how much of success we could achieve in our spiritual life. I'd just like if you can comment further on that one.
I think you've hit the nail right on the head, brother. Jazakumullah so much for that contribution. Most profound.
Jazakallah, Maulana.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think that's a very apt point on which to conclude this morning's program. Unfortunately, we're out of time. May the last few days of Ramadan be the best days of not only Ramadan but of our lives for all of us. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Have a wonderful Eid. I will see you in the month of Shawwal, inshallah, back on Friday nights at 8:30. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
فاستنهضي همما فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا ندي على الفتية الأحرار في زمن أضحى به الحق بالخذلان مدفونا. فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته، وهل لغير القوي الناس يصغونا. رباه هيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا، فأنت من بالتقى والدين يهدينا. أدعوك يا أمتي فاستنهضي همما، فالمسجد الأقصى ما زال يدعونا. ندي على الفتية الأحرار